In 1198, Pope Innocent III proclaimed a Fourth Crusade. A fleet of ships and supplies were gathered in Venice, Italy, enough for over 33,000 men. Unfortunately, they planned for way too many, for only a third of that number showed up. Consequently, the Crusaders could not pay their bill to the Venetians. Under the pressure to complete paying off their debt, the Crusaders were asked to help Alexius Angelus, a former Byzantine emperor now in exile, to return to Constantinople and reclaim his right as emperor. Alexius promised them money, alliance with the Byzantines, and more soldiers for their crusade. They ignored Pope Innocent's objection to the crusade being used for this purpose. Thus the crusade escorted Alexius to Constantinople, but the crusade ended up having to attack the city before Alexius regained the position of emperor. The crusade wished to leave immediately for Egypt, their original purpose, but were forced to stay as Alexius tried to keep his promises. Feeling cheated by the emperor who could not keep his promises, Crusaders began raiding the land to pay themselves. Even the bishops in the crusade justified an attack on the city. The ordinary Crusader soldier had no idea that the verdict of their bishops contradicted the commands of the Pope. The Crusaders succeeded in their attempts to take the city in 1204. What followed has become known as the Sack of Constantinople. A sack of a city that resisted capture was acceptable in medieval moral code, but the Crusaders did much more than just plunder. They broke into palaces, stripped altars of precious furnishings, smashed icons for the sake of their silver and gems, and even defiled the consecrated Eucharist in precious blood. The radiant church, Hagia Sophia, was stripped of everything of value. Pope Innocent tried to apologize for this grave tragedy. In 2001, St. John Paul II again apologized to the Greek people for the sack of Constantinople. Even if the idea of the crusade was in fact a just war, there were individual actions done by Christians that were contrary to following Jesus. Ultimately, the Fourth Crusade did nothing but weaken both the Byzantine Empire and the Crusader States. It was a disaster. In the same way, sports are meant to be a great good, but can be used for ill. If practices, games, and tournaments become so prominent that they push Sunday Mass to second place, we need to remind ourselves of sport's true goal. Also, during the events themselves, do we allow our excitement and competitiveness to prevent us from treating others, parents, coaches, refs, and athletes, as the children of God that they are? Winning is good, but it is not the greatest good, and it is a tragedy worse than the sack of Constantinople when we allow sports to take the place of God.